loves to sell you cleanliness. It will tell you that if you just buy the right bottle, the right label, the right fragrance, your life will shine again. But the soul is not washed with products. It is washed with truth. And somewhere between Sunday and Monday, many have traded the living water for counterfeit shampoos, spiritual formulas that promise renewal yet leave residue on the heart. They smell good, they foam well, but they never cleanse. Today we expose 6 of them, not to condemn, but to awaken. Because purity is not about appearance, it's about alignment. The first brand is comparison. It's commercial plays every day. Look at them. It whispers. Look how happy, how successful, how perfect. And you begin to scrub your soul with their highlight reels, hoping your worth will rise with the lather. But comparison always leaves you raw. It bleaches identity. It takes what God made original and repaints it in imitation. You were never meant to mirror others. You were meant to magnify purpose. Each time you measure yourself against another, you reduce your own miracle. The antidote is gratitude, thanking the giver instead of envying the gifts. When you see your blessings clearly, jealousy loses its voice. The second is fear. It comes in a black bottle, promising protection. It says, stay safe, stay small, stay the same. You poured it over your dreams and call it wisdom, but it's really withdrawal. Fear coats the soul with hesitation until courage cannot breathe. It will whisper, maybe later, until later becomes never. Scripture says, perfect love casts out fear, because love moves where fear freezes. The moment you act in love, love for your purpose, your people, your Creator, fear dissolves like soap in running water. The third brand is complaints. It's everywhere, cheap and popular. People hand you samples in every conversation. It makes you feel momentarily lighter, but it stains everything it touches. Complaining convinces you that speaking pain is the same as solving it, but it only multiplies what you curse. The more you talk about darkness, the more your tongue forgets the language of light. Gratitude is the true cleanser. It doesn't ignore dirt. It transforms it. When you thank even the trial, you discover that nothing can soil a spirit that knows how to praise. The fourth brand is comfort. It smells like peace, but functions like paralysis. It tells you you've done enough. Rest forever. It hides laziness under the fragrance of self-care. But comfort, unchecked, becomes captivity. Faith was never meant to sit, it was meant to step. The couch is not your cross, and safety is not your calling. Growth always requires friction, the way pearls require irritation, and muscles require strain. The spirit grows not in ease, but in endurance. Choose challenge, not because you enjoy pain, but because you understand what pain produces. The fifth is approval, the most addictive of all. Its slogan is simple. If they like you, you're clean. So you rinse yourself in opinions, scrub your conscience with trends, spray yourself with validation, and wonder why you still smell of emptiness. Approval is a perfume that evaporates in minutes. The truth is, no one's applause can anoint you. Only authenticity can. When you stop chasing acceptance, you start attracting alignment. God's favor begins where people's approval ends. The sixth and final brand is pride. The luxury bottle, sleek, shiny, expensive. Pride polishes the outside while poisoning the inside. It whispers, you don't need help. You don't need grace. But the soul that refuses humility grows heavy with its own reflection. Pride is dirt disguised as diamond dust. It blinds you to your own need for cleansing. The cure is surrender, not humiliation, but holy honesty. When you kneel, not in defeat, but in devotion, the true cleansing begins. These 6 shampoos line the shelves of modern life, sold under the label of enlightenment, but brewed in the factory of illusion. They promise refreshment, yet leave the spirit brittle. The world will always market you self-improvement. Heaven offers transformation. Self-help polishes the mirror. Truth changes the face. The difference is depth. Wash your soul instead with discipline, gratitude, courage, purpose, humility, and love. They have no brand, no logo, no scent, yet they leave behind the fragrance of heaven. Every act of integrity rinses away another layer of falsehood. Every moment of kindness restores your shine. Every time you forgive, you wash away yesterday's dust. The richest life is not the one that owns the most bottles. It's the one that finally stops pretending it needs them. Purity was never about avoiding dirt. It was about refusing to live in it. The clean soul is not the untouched one, but the one that keeps returning to the source. So step into the morning, no longer dripping with imitation. Let truth be the water, gratitude the soap, love the scent. Let your life smell like freedom. And when the world offers you another bottle, another brand, another promise of artificial purity, smile and say, I already know the source. Because the soul that remembers where its water comes from never thirsts again. Because the soul that remembers where its water comes from never thirsts again. It walks through deserts and still carries rain within. It does not beg the clouds to open. It becomes the cloud that blesses others. And when the world looks dry and dying, this soul becomes the spring, unbought, unbranded, unstoppable. That is the paradox of spiritual richness. The poorer you become in vanity, the wealthier you grow in peace. The world sells you shine. Heaven gives you light. You begin to notice how each false shampoo was never about hygiene. It was about hiding. Comparison hides insecurity. Fear hides potential. Complaints hide unhealed wounds. Comfort hides wasted strength. Approval hides the absence of self-worth. And pride hides pain, too proud to admit it's hurting. Every brand of illusion hides something sacred behind the label. The work of awakening is not to judge them, but to uncover what they were hiding all along, your forgotten power to change. When you stop washing yourself in lies, you start walking yourself into truth. The first morning without comparison feels strange. You look in the mirror and see not flaws, not competition, but the quiet masterpiece of survival. You survive doubt. You survive disapproval. You survive your own self-sabotage. And that realization becomes worship. You stop asking, why me? And start whispering, thank you. The mirror becomes a window, and you begin to see God looking back through your reflection. And fear, that thick residue that used to cling to your choices, begins to dissolve. You no longer measure your courage by the absence of fear, but by your refusal to obey it. Fear still knocks, but you no longer open the door. You smile and keep working, keep building, keep walking toward what terrifies you most, because now you know fear is not a wall, it's a test. Every act of courage cleanses the spirit of stagnation. You start to hear the world differently. Complaints used to echo around you like background noise, but now they sound foreign. You catch yourself before joining in, and instead of feeding negativity, you plant hope. You speak life into what others declare dead. You no longer curse the darkness, you become the candle. People begin to notice the difference, though they can't explain it. They'll say, you've changed, not realizing that you simply remembered. Then comes the great temptation again, comfort, the soft lullaby of good enough. But now you recognize it for what it is, a thief dressed in silk. Comfort is not evil, it's incomplete. Rest, yes, but rest to refuel, not to retire. The seed that refuses to grow, to avoid the rain, will rot under the same soil it feared. You were not made for stagnation. You were made for stretching. Growth is a holy discomfort. The muscles of the soul must tear to expand. When the call of purpose feels heavy, you answer anyway, because you understand something deeper now. Discomfort is divine design. The pain of discipline is the tax you pay for the freedom of destiny. You no longer ask for easier paths. You ask for stronger legs. You realize success is not an achievement, it's a habit. Every day you rise, pray, work, and choose truth over convenience. You are rewriting your life from the inside out. And as you grow stronger, the old hunger for approval begins to fade. You no longer crave the clapping of men because you have felt the quiet applause of heaven. There is a peace that comes when you no longer need to be seen to know you are significant. The voice that once begged, "Do they like me?" transforms into a whisper that asks, "Am I aligned?" And in that alignment, everything begins to flow. Relationships, creativity, abundance, not forced, but formed by integrity. That's when pride returns, dressed as progress. It will say, "Look what you've built. You did this alone, but you know better. You know that every breath was borrowed, every opportunity orchestrated, every moment of strength, a miracle disguised as muscle." Pride dies in the presence of perspective. Gratitude becomes your armor, humility your fragrance. You remember that every mountain you climb was never conquered for glory, but for service to help others find the path. And so you begin to cleanse differently. You no longer seek to wash away the world, you seek to bless it. Every act of love becomes a drop of water in the drought of despair. Every honest effort becomes a rainfall in someone's desert. You don't just wash the dirt off your own soul. You teach others how to find the river. That's how faith spreads not through speeches, but through evidence. Life begins to take on a new texture. Ordinary moments feel sacred. The sound of morning rain, the silence after prayer, the look in a stranger's eyes, all whisper of grace. You start to see that holiness was never locked inside churches. It was hidden inside awareness. Every breath of gratitude baptizes the present moment. And in this awakening, something strange happens. The same world that once seemed dirty and broken now looks washed and shining. Not because it changed, but because your vision did. The cleanest soul is the one that can see beauty even in brokenness. The world hasn't been ruined. It's been waiting for someone to see it rightly. You now understand what true cleansing means. It's not about removing what's impure. It's about revealing what's divine. You realize that redemption is not erasure. It's restoration. The stains remain, but they glow under the light of grace like sacred scars. You no longer hide your past. You honor it. You no longer hide your flaws. You refine them. You no longer hide your pain. You teach from it. The world will still offer you its shells, new labels, new promises, new distractions, but you've tasted authenticity, and imitation can no longer satisfy you. Once the soul drinks from living water, all artificial sweetness turns bitter. The voice of marketing grows faint. The noise of comparison fades. You stop buying what you already possess, peace. You walk into every day like a sunrise, glowing quietly. You no longer rush to cleanse yourself of every imperfection, because you've learned that imperfection is where God writes his finest poetry. You do not chase purity. You embody it by being present, honest, and alive. And that, perhaps, is the greatest revelation of all, that holiness is not sterile. It's vibrant, it dances, it breathes, it bleeds, it builds. Holiness is not escape from the world, it's the transformation of it. To be holy is not to hide from dirt. It's to bring light into it. You were never meant to live sanitized. You were meant to live sanctified. And sanctification is not spotless perfection. It's progressive purification. Every day you rinse another layer of illusion until the truth of who you are stands uncovered, radiant, and free. The world keeps washing away authenticity. You keep rinsing off deception. That is your quiet rebellion. That is your wealth, because a clean heart is richer than any empire, and a clear conscience sleeps better than any king. And in the stillness of that knowing, you smile not the smile of someone who has arrived, but of someone who finally understands that the journey itself is the cleansing. The journey itself is the cleansing. Every step, every mistake, every return to truth washes away another illusion. The more you walk, the more you realize that life was never asking you to be perfect. It was asking you to participate, to show up with clean hands, not flawless ones, to stand in the dirt of reality and still choose to plant seeds of light. You begin to understand that righteousness is not a robe you wear. It's a rhythm you keep, the rhythm of integrity, the rhythm of faith, the rhythm of love that outlasts disappointment, the rhythm of responsibility that keeps you moving even when applause fades. That rhythm becomes your music, and suddenly every action feels like part of a sacred song. Work, rest, generosity, patience, all notes in the same eternal composition. And then, almost without realizing it, you start to influence others, not through speeches, not through titles, but through consistency. The way you speak gently when others curse, the way you stay calm when storms rise, the way you forgive when the world demands revenge. People will notice. They may not understand it, but they'll feel it, that something invisible yet undeniable surrounds you. It's not charm, it's not charisma, it's clarity. Because when the inside is clean, the outside shines without effort. When the spirit is pure, words become water, cleansing, cooling, restoring. You begin to see that influence was never about followers. It was about fragrance. You don't need to convince anyone to change. The scent of truth does the work. This is how true wealth begins, not from accumulation, but from alignment. You no longer chase money. Money follows meaning. You no longer crave recognition. Recognition finds you serving. You no longer grind to prove yourself. You grow because you cannot help it. Prosperity ceases to be a goal and becomes a side effect of purpose. You discover that abundance was never the goal. It was the result of obedience. You start to rise different. Mornings no longer feel like repetition. They feel like rebirth. Each dawn is an opportunity to demonstrate the kind of person you've become. You greet challenges like friends, not enemies. You look at failure as fertilizer for faith. Every difficulty becomes dialogue with destiny. What are you trying to teach me? You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? And when you work, really work, something miraculous happens. Your labor turns into worship. Your business becomes ministry. Your craft becomes contribution. You stop separating sacred from secular, because now you see everything done with integrity becomes holy. Whether you're painting walls or leading nations, if you do it with love, it carries divine weight. You begin to live with excellence, not for praise, but for principle. You no longer cut corners because no one's watching you polish the edges, because truth is watching. You no longer work to impress people. You work to honor the one who gave you the ability to work. That shift turns ordinary life into legacy. The more you walk this path, the more you understand that wealth is not the possession of things, but the mastery of self. The rich man who cannot rule his emotions is still a slave. The poor man who has mastered gratitude is already free. Money without meaning is misery. Success without peace is suffering in disguise. But when purpose fuels prosperity, abundance becomes inevitable, not as accumulation, but as overflow. You start to use wealth differently. You no longer spend to feel alive. You invest to keep others from dying in poverty, in hopelessness, in ignorance. You realize that the highest form of prosperity is participation in healing the world. Generosity becomes your favorite fragrance. You give not for credit, but for continuity, because everything that leaves your hand with love returns multiplied. And still, the world will misunderstand. It will tell you that kindness is weakness, that humility is naivete, that patience is passivity. But you smile because you know better. You've seen behind the curtain. You've met the author. You understand now that the meek do not lose the world they inherited. You've learned that power without peace is just noise, and ambition without compassion is only arrogance dressed in gold. The deeper you go, the more you feel eternity brushing against your skin. You begin to sense that heaven is not far. It's near, it's now, it's here. It is in the choice to forgive before you're asked. It is in the courage to be honest when lies would make you popular. It is in the way you stay pure in a polluted culture, strong yet soft, humble yet unbreakable. Heaven is not waiting for you to arrive. It's waiting for you to awaken. You become a walking contradiction to modern logic, bold yet gentle, successful yet surrendered, driven yet detached, wealthy yet unpossessed. You live as if you belong to eternity, but work as if time is sacred. That's the paradox of enlightenment. You care deeply, but you cling to nothing. You give your all, but you expect nothing. You love fiercely, but you control no one. And with every act of truth, something happens around you. People change without you trying to change them. They see your peace and want it. They see your discipline and feel challenged by it. They see your faith and remember their own. The gospel spreads not through arguments, but through atmosphere. You have become atmosphere. Now the shampoo bottles of illusion, comparison, fear, complaints, comfort, approval, pride, they no longer tempt you. You walk past them with a smile, not out of superiority, but serenity. You see them for what they are, old versions of yourself. You bless them and keep walking. The soul that has found truth no longer hates the past. It redeems it. You realize that the only reason you can lead others out is because you once wandered in. Your story becomes sacred. The stains that used to shame you become the proof that grace works. Your scars become scripture to those who have never read any. You no longer preach, you live, and life itself becomes your sermon. And in this new awareness, your ambition transforms. You stop chasing success that fades with applause. You start building impact that echoes beyond generations. You invest in souls, not just systems. You pour into people, not just projects. You leave behind something that no economy can collapse: the evidence that truth walked the earth in your form. Every moment becomes ministry. Every task becomes teaching. Every word becomes water. You have become the well you once begged others to dig. You are no longer desperate to be known. You are devoted to being useful. That is the shift that changes everything, from ego to essence, from survival to service. And you finally see that the whole journey, every temptation, every failure, every false cleanser you used was never punishment. It was preparation. You had to try the false to recognize the real. You had to taste the counterfeit to crave the genuine. You had to wash yourself in illusions to understand that only truth purifies. And now that you do, you are untouchable. Not because life will spare you pain, but because pain can no longer define you. You are clean, not because you are spotless, but because you are sincere. You are powerful, not because you control, but because you understand. You are free, not because the world changed, but because you did. The journey continues, but you no longer walk in search of light. You walk as it. You no longer chase heaven, you carry it. You no longer ask for miracles, you perform them in the way you forgive, in the way you build, in the way you live. You are proof that transformation is not a myth. You are evidence that God still writes new beginnings with old souls. You are the miracle the world forgot it prayed for. You are the miracle the world forgot it prayed for. The answer hidden in plain sight, the quiet redemption walking on 2 feet. You do not need thunder to prove your power. You need only consistency. The greatest revolutions are not shouted, they are lived. They begin in kitchens, in offices, in hearts that refuse to return to sleep. You do not need to save the world, you need to stay awake in it. Awareness is salvation enough. Every day, the world will hand you new distractions, new illusions, new bottles of its favorite shampoos, polished promises of instant cleansing. A little envy for motivation, a little fear for focus, a little compromise for comfort. And you will smile, for you've already tasted something better. You've drunk from the river that runs through eternity, the truth that nothing external can wash what only grace can cleanse. You rise in the morning, and the light feels different now. It no longer just touches you. It comes from you. You step into your day with purpose humming quietly under your breath. You no longer ask, what must I do to succeed? But, who can I serve to make the world lighter today? You understand now that greatness is not measured by scale, but by sincerity. The smallest act done with love ripples farther than the loudest act done for approval. So you start building patiently, purposefully. You build with honesty when others cut corners. You build with hope when others give up. You build with forgiveness when bitterness is cheaper. You build because you know that everything built on truth lasts. Every lie eventually collapses under the weight of its own emptiness. But truth is indestructible. It bends, it burns, but it does not break. And when you face moments of doubt, and you will not panic, you will pause. You will remember that even Jesus, hanging on the cross, felt forsaken, that even prophets wept, that even the greatest lights sometimes flicker before they shine brighter. You will remind yourself that faith is not a feeling. It's a decision repeated daily. You will whisper, still I believe, and keep walking. Your walk itself becomes a sermon. People begin to feel peace just by being near you. They won't understand it. How could they? They will ask for your secret, and you will smile, because you know there isn't one. It was always simple. Keep your heart clean, your motives pure, your focus steady. Keep serving, keep loving, keep forgiving faster than you are hurt. Keep rising faster than you fall. And one day, when you least expect it, you will see how far you've come, not in miles, but in maturity. The person who once sought validation now gives it. The one who once feared rejection now embraces solitude. The one who once begged for miracles now becomes one. That is, growth invisible, internal, undeniable. Then the world will test you again. It will question your purity. It will challenge your peace. It will tempt you to return to the noise. But this time you will not be swayed, because your peace is not borrowed, it's built. Your joy is not reaction, it's revelation. You will walk through storms dry, because the rain is only water to one who has already drowned in grace. You begin to notice divine patterns everywhere, how endings become entrances, how loss becomes leverage, how the worst days always carry the blueprint of better ones. You start seeing that every detour was direction in disguise. Even your mistakes were not waste. They were material for mastery. The world sees failure. Heaven sees foundation. Every time you fell, the ground whispered, learn. And you did. Your life becomes layered with meaning. What once hurt now teaches. What once broke you now builds others. You start realizing that the point of pain was not punishment, but preparation, sharpening you for the service only you could give. You stop running from suffering and start using it. You understand that the cross was never a decoration. It was a design, the pattern of transformation through surrender. This awareness makes you fearless, not reckless, but fearless, the kind of courage born not from arrogance, but from understanding. You know that even if everything is taken from you, nothing essential can be lost. Your value does not depend on possessions. It is written in purpose. They can steal your stage, but not your song. They can silence your voice, but not your vibration. They can bury your name, but not your nature. So you keep giving, not because you have much, but because you have meaning. You give energy, time, kindness, wisdom. You give even when unappreciated, because giving is who you've become. You are no longer a consumer of blessings. You are a distributor of them. The blessings that stop with you die with you. The ones that flow through you live forever. And when you build wealth, or you will, because aligned souls attract abundance, you use it differently. You invest in people, not just portfolios. You see money as movement, not monument. You let generosity become your signature. You understand that true prosperity is the ability to give freely without fear of running out. The universe replenishes what love releases. There will be moments when you walk alone. Do not mistake them for abandonment. The higher the calling, the smaller the crowd. Solitude is not a void. It's a forge. It's where clarity sharpens, where ego burns, where truth refines into purpose. Silence becomes your sanctuary. The world fears quiet because it reveals too much, but you have learned to love it. For in stillness you hear the whisper again. You are mine. Keep going. And you do. You walk into rooms and shift them without speaking. You meet anger with calm. You meet pride with patience. You meet hate with understanding. You carry an atmosphere of heaven into every human space, not because you try to look holy, but because you have become whole. And when you look back over your life, the false cleansers, the restless striving, the long nights of fear, you will smile, for everything led here. Every wrong turn brought wisdom. Every heartbreak taught compassion. Every mistake became medicine. You will realize that what once felt like washing away was really washing toward. The river was always leading you home. And that home is not a destination. It's a condition, the state of a soul, at peace with itself and its maker. You are no longer running. You are rooted. You are no longer reaching. You are resting while still rising. The work continues, but the worry ends. That is the paradox of spiritual success. You keep climbing, but the mountain now feels like music. At last, you understand. The goal was never riches, reputation, or recognition. It was revelation. To know yourself as God intended, whole, awake, alive, luminous. You were never meant to be cleaned for appearance, but for purpose. You were meant to be the water others find when they are thirsty for truth. And one evening, when the sun sinks low and the light turns golden, you will feel a quiet satisfaction rise in you. You will look around at faces, at fields, at the horizon, and realize that you did it. Not perfectly, but faithfully. You kept your heart clean in a world that rewards corruption. You stayed kind in a culture that worships cruelty. You stayed true when lies were easier. That is victory. That is wealth. That is holiness in motion. And as the night descends, you will not fear the dark. You will close your eyes and know light does not die. It simply changes form. Because once truth has lived in you, it cannot end. It moves through generations, through words, through the unseen ripple of every act of love you ever gave. And long after your name is forgotten, your light will remain shining quietly in the souls you touched, cleansing them long after you've gone. And now, as the last note fades and silence returns, there is only breath, the sacred kind, that reminds you you're still becoming. The world will keep spinning, shouting, selling, but you will walk differently now. You have nothing to prove, nothing to polish, only something to protect your peace. Carry it carefully, speak it gently, guard it fiercely. Let your days be sermons, and your nights be sanctuary. Let your work be worship, and your words be water. When others forget, remember, light was never meant to be perfect, only persistent. Keep shining through the dust, through the noise, through the doubt, because every dawn you rise with truth in your hands. The universe whispers the same eternal benediction. Well done. Keep going.